Priority legislations. In the time of COVID-19 pandemic and the threat of a Delta variant surge, a possible probe on corruption allegations, a lowdown on the drug war, and a Lacson-Sotto tandem in 2022. This is a special presentation of The Source, One-on-One with Senate President Tito Sotto. Thank you for joining us. I'm Pinky Webb. We are on the final stretch of the Duterte administration, but challenges remain. The threat of the Delta COVID-19 variant, the government's vaccination program, and passing urgent legislative priorities. Let's go straight to the source of the story. We have Senate President Tito Sotto. SP, welcome to the source. And as usual, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras.
Thank you, Pinky. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you. Let's first talk about this. 1 year remaining in the 18th Congress. What will be the legislative priorities of the Senate once you resume session?
Well, for sure, we in the Senate are ready to pool our resources into the mitigation, control, and perhaps eradication of the tiny virus, the COVID-19. But as far as the economic bills are concerned, we are also ready to pass it in the Senate. Bicameral Conference Committee pending right now is the retail trade liberalization, and I'm sure by the first week of August we'll be able to pass that for the President's signature. And then the Foreign Investments Act, it's in the advanced stage, as you may call it that. Also, the amendments to the Public Service Act, which is about almost 90 years old, yung Public Service Act ng Pilipinas. So we expect to pass it next month, August, I mean. And then the offshore gaming, the POGO bill has already been approved on third reading. We expect it to pass the BICAM. The guide bill, which is the Government Financial Institutions Unified Initiatives for Distressed Enterprises. And the Department of Migrant Workers and Overseas Filipinos, to name a few. These are the pending bills that we would give priority as soon as we resume.
Doable ho ba ito at sa palagay nyo maipapasa when you resume session?
Yes, I think so. Yes. These are vital pieces of legislation that would help us get back on top, as far as our economy is concerned, and also the situation that we're in, the pandemic.
Okay.
So may mga 2 or 3 pa, but I think they will not encounter any problems like the Agri-Agra bill, the Fisheries Development Financing, and the Comprehensive Tax Reform Program. Para sa Pasig, it helps the economy definitely.
Going back to the President's State of the Nation address last year, he had enumerated about 21 priority bills. 4 of those were passed. A number of them, over and above the 4 that were passed, there were 7 that were passed by the House at hindi na po naipasa ng Senado. So now that you've named the priority measures and those that will be passed, let's talk about one that was passed at the House and did not pass at the Senate, which is important for COVID response, assisting government's COVID response. So the Bayanihan 3. Again,
the Bayanihan 3.
Opo, passed at the House pero hindi po naipasa sa Senado. And I do remember that one of the concerns back then was where to source the funding for Bayanihan 3.
The Bayanihan 3 version of the Senate is being tackled. It's the Bayanihan to Heal as One, we call it. There is I cannot I cannot say it's a slight difference, but there are differences in the version. That's the problem there. But I think as far as the COVID response is concerned and what is necessary, what is needed, will pass the Senate. The Bayanihan 3, the House version, when it's transmitted to us, we will, of course, merge it with the Bayanihan to Hilas 1. Perhaps it might interest you to know that we already have a total of 88.5 billion for procurement of vaccines. So as far as that is concerned, the government has already enough money to fully scale up on the vaccination program. There are perhaps a provision or two in the Bayanihan 3 that will enhance this, but hopefully we will be able to pass it also as the Bayanihan to Hilas 1 Act, the Senate version. And then as usual, we'll fix it when it comes to the BICAM already. Meron kasing mga provision doon, like for example, and I have to be very candid about it. There is a provision there in the Bayanihan 3 that gives, I think, so many billions for the pension.
Right,
pension
military pension.
Pension program. Some of our colleagues are already calling it gerrymandering because it's not in the title of the bill. It's not incorporated in the sense of the entire bill. Something like that. So
yeah.
But okay na rin siguro na yung Bayanihan to Hilas 1 Act ang aming ipasa as version namin.
Over 80 billion allotted for vaccine procurement. When you look at the the COVID-19 crisis that we have, we're not just dealing obviously with the vaccine. We need to deal with so many other issues such as contact tracing, isolation, treatment. No. So I guess what I want to know from you is how did the Senate, number one, first respond to this crippling virus, and number two, what else can be done aside from your version of the Bayanihan to Hilas 1?
The budget that I'm talking about, it started at 82 billion, and then an additional 6 billion which we got from I think they're getting from the President's contingency fund, addresses all of that. It's all in. It's included, no. Aside from the fact that it will be available to procure about 73 million doses, 56 million under negotiation at this point. So, ang tawag dito, medyo apurahin lang. Perhaps the ball is in the hands of the executive department. Apurahin, and then what else can we do? We are ready to pass any legislation necessary.
So wait and see, kumbaga, apart from the Bayanihan to Hilas 1, kung meron pang kakailanganin na legislative measure to deal with this pandemic, obviously the Senate is open to looking into this.
Yes, for sure, definitely.
I just want to backtrack a little bit because we talked about the economic bills, no? Yung sa foreign ownership such as Public Services Act na napakatagal na nga po, the Retail Trade Liberalization Act and the Foreign Investment Act. Does this mean, Senate President, yung economic Chacha na ipinasa po ng House, Resolution number 2 pa ata yun, wala na ho ito? This will not see the light of day at the Senate, ganun ho ba yun? Would it be safe to say that?
No, I'd rather not say that. Perhaps what we can do is that, or what I can say is that as soon as it reaches the Committee on Constitutional Amendments, and if I'm not mistaken, before the break, I referred it already to the Committee on Constitutional Amendments. We may tackle it. There is a possibility. As a matter of fact, when I discussed it with the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Speaker Lord Alan Velasco, the timetable that we were discussing was all the way up to January of 2021. There is a possibility that we will be able to tackle it. And if we do, the latest must be February of 2021. Because it will need a plebiscite. So if ever we do agree with it, even
sorry, you're saying Feb 2021.
sorry, Webb
2022.
2022.
Let's clarify.
I stand corrected. 2022. So yung deadline na pinag-uusapan namin na either January or February 2022 is still possible.
Okay.
So I'm not saying that it does not stand a chance in the Senate. And then I say February because of the plebiscite. It needs a plebiscite to be approved by the people.
I do remember though, last I interviewed you, you did say that na nag-usap ko kayo ni Speaker na merong ang timetable na January to February of 2022. But I do recall you also telling me, but if there were certain measures that will be passed, economic measures that will be passed, hindi na po kailangan tong economic chacha.
Correct. Yes, I stand by that. The economic bills that are pending now, that we may be able to pass by August, September, and all the measures coming from the Department of Finance that we're tackling, there's a possibility that the economic chacha will not be necessary. As long as these bills become into law and are able to address what the economic chacha wants to address, then therefore there is a very strong possibility that it would no longer be necessary. As a matter of fact, ano mangyayari? Magpe-plebiscite pa rin yun eh. So it does not, it will go into the next leadership already. And I'm sure you're aware of the fact that there is an elephant in the room. That is the second Monday of May of 2022.
Okay, so we'll be taking a very short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Senate President Tito Sotto will still be with us. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Pinky Webb. Our guest today, Senate President Tito Sotto. Tito Sen, I just want to talk about possible hearings that may occur or may happen when you resume session. Alam ko po na nagkaroon na po ng at least 2 rounds ng the Senate Committee of the Whole to look into the government's COVID-19 pandemic response. At this point in time, Senate President, do you feel that there may be a need to have another one?
It depends. It depends on how the Department of Health or the IATF will react to some of the suggestions that we have given them. It will depend on that. Like, for example, they should take a second look on the use of the face shields and all that. And the distribution that is happening right now, like, for example, the distribution that's happening is 55% of the vaccine distribution goes to the National Capital Region. And then of course, +8, they call it the NCR +8, which includes Pampanga, Bulacan, Laguna, Rizal, Cavite, Batangas, Cebu, and Davao City. The remainder goes to the priority cities with the surges. Yung nagkakaroon ng mga surge. Iloilo, Bacolod, Cagayan de Oro, Zamboanga, etc. So, tignan natin if there would be a clamor from the other provinces, which is already happening as we speak. So tingnan muna natin. If they are able to address it, then a committee of the whole hearing will no longer be necessary. But if not, perhaps we'd like to find out why. What's happening? What's the matter?
And in connection to this, I wanted to ask you also about PhilHealth. I do remember the president giving its chief until December last year to fix the problem of PhilHealth after so many hearings. Recent interviews, you have Be Happy saying that napakalaki pa din daw allegedly ng utang ng PhilHealth sa mga ospital. The point I'm trying to make, Tito Sen, is this, with the Delta variant here, local cases already. We don't know what's going to happen, Pero ang posibleng mangyari is that pag kumalat po ito, the hospitals will be overwhelmed and they will need funds. Is there a plan, or do you think it is necessary at some point to look into what really is the backlog between PhilHealth and the hospitals? Because there is a threat, and some supposed to be have closed down because hindi daw sila nababayaran.
What the Senate can do would be exercise its oversight functions on the issue of PhilHealth and the hospitals. Because we already had a hearing, if I recall it, about two or three hearings that we had already. There is a committee report that we submitted already. As a matter of fact, the Department of Justice and the Ombudsman took cognizance of the committee report that we had. That's why they have already filed the cases on these officers or officials who were there. Now, as I said, an oversight function that we need to exercise would be to find out from PhilHealth and perhaps now the President or Chairman Dante Geran to brief us on what is happening so that we get it straight from the horse's mouth and not just mga bali-balita na may problema sa hospital na ganito o ganyan. Would like to do that. And I assure you, we'll be doing that. Not only the Committee on the Health of the Senate, perhaps, but the Senate as a whole.
And yun pong corruption allegations that Senator Manny Pacquiao is alleging on certain agencies such as DSWD and the Department of Energy. Are you open to the Senate looking into this as well?
Yes, these are resolutions that have been filed, and I will definitely refer them come July 27, after the opening on the 26th. I'm sure it will be in the report of the Bills and Index of the Senate, and it will be referred to the proper committees. And when a resolution to that effect is referred, inevitably hearings will be conducted. So the answer is yes.
Senate President, also a statement by Secretary Bello on writing the President to certify as urgent ito pong endo. We all know that naipasa na po ito, 2019, binito po ng Pangulo. Pero sabi po ni Secretary Bello, baka daw, well, he plans to write the President again to look into this. Ano ho kaya pwede mangyari dito?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because I overheard today Secretary Roque naman saying that Congress should pass Senate Bill 1826, which is the anti-endo. Senate Bill 1826 in the present 18th Congress is about the apportionment of the province of Rizal. Ano, baka sinasabi niya yung 1826 in the old Congress, which is the 17th Congress, which we passed. Congress passed it, and the President vetoed it. So what do you want us to do? Di ba? We passed it.
And was it ever clear why the President vetoed the bill?
There were, I think, points that were written in the veto message. I sent it to the Committee on Labor. Mm-hmm. I do not recall now. I do not remember the points that were raised on why. So it's surprising that they're calling for us to pass it. Pinasa na namin. Binito ninyo eh.
All right. Again, we need to take a very short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Pinky Webb. Our guest today, Senate President Tito Sotto. Let's go to this, Tito Sen. It's the last sauna.
May we go back to the earlier question because I checked on it during
endo?
the endo. Okay. The reason cited by the veto message says undue broadens the scope and definition of prohibited labor-only contracting. Yun.
Okay.
In word for word.
So baka kailangan ayusin yon? Yung definition? Ganun ho ba yun?
Ano ba definition ng endo? Hindi ba ayaw natin ng ini-end ng kontrata after 6 months? Ano ba?
Every 6 months.
All right. That's mga iba. Anyway,
okay.
That's the veto message. So I don't know. If they think that we should pass an endo bill, that will conform with what the executive department wants, then submit it to us. Tell
And
us.
you're-
Tell us what you want. What you want there, di ba? Imbis na ganyan ang sitwasyon, na parang nananawagan sa ampipasa namin, pinasa na namin eh. And
Okay.
then just one more, let's go back a little if you don't mind, Pinky, so that your source will be complete. Doon sa Bayanihan 3, meron palang 3 issues doon na that will be addressed by the Bayanihan to Heal as One Act ng Senate. Una, according to the Bureau of Treasury, there is no certification of the availability of funds. Now, second, 54.6 billion yung gustong ilagay sa pension for uniformed personnel. And then, Bayanihan to Heal as One, to Bayanihan 3, according to Secretary Dominguez, is not on the health aspect of the pandemic, but it is meant to address the rise in hunger and poverty.
Okay.
So yun, just to set the record straight. I hope you don't mind. Thank you.
Thank you for clearing that up also as well. So yun po yung 3 difference between the House version, and the Senate versions. Those were the points raised rather. Okay. I wanted to ask you, it is the last State of the Nation of President Rodrigo Duterte. Siguro in essence or in summary, sir, what would you like to hear from the President?
Well, I expect and hope that there will be a COVID-19 roadmap that the President will lay out so that the next administration would also be able to follow up or follow through. And then we expect to hear the legislative priorities other than what we have already in our table, particularly those measures that will improve the lives of our countrymen, and definitely the economy. And then I hope to hear from him a clear stand on the issue of the West Philippine Sea. Once and for all, let's hear it, and then perhaps a state of the war on drugs.
That's actually what I wanted to ask you. Do you think the President made good on his promise to end crime, corruption, and the drug problem?
That was a very difficult promise to make and to make true. No president would be able to do that in a matter of 6 years. Even in the issue of illegal drugs, the problem of illegal drugs is confronted with the problem of drug abuse. Those are 2 different animals. People think it's related, but it's a different approach. The approach on illegal drugs is supply reduction, and that is what the government is doing. We must enhance that by the issue of prosecution being upgraded, updated, enhanced. No, but then again, the issue of demand reduction strategy cannot be done in just a matter of months or just 2 or 3 years. That is another issue. Yung drug abuse is demand reduction strategy ang kailangan dyan. So, siguro dapat ang maging attitude natin ng gobyerno is to look forward to a drug-resistant Philippines. A drug-free Philippines is not possible. But a drug-resistant Philippines is possible. It will depend on the kind of program that the government will undertake. And
but do you think that his program worked, sir?
As far as enforcement is concerned, I think somehow it worked. But enforcement is 1/4 of the holistic approach of the 4 major concerns, which is enforcement, prosecution, prevention, and rehabilitation. So,
kumbaga, Tito Sen, parang what you're talking about is really a holistic approach to the drug problem. Yeah. Okay. Before we end the interview, of course, I wanted to ask you, kayo ho ba nakapag-desisyon na kung tatakbo kayong VP?
we will be announcing formally, or we will make an official announcement. Senator Ping Lacson and I will make a formal announcement by the 4th of August. In the past week, we went around Luzon. Some people called it the Tour of Luzon. It's a consultative tour of Luzon. And we did consult with not only local officials, and they were very upbeat about it, because they thought that at least the people from the national government are hearing them. The local government officials, the business sector, many of them, and then even the religious sector and the private citizens, the common Filipino. We went to Bulacan, Pampanga, Tarlac, Zambales, Pangasinan, La Union, and then Ilocos Sur, Ilocos Norte, Tuguegarao, Cagayan, and then Nueva Vizcaya, back to Manila. That was probably about 70% of northern Luzon. And the feedback that we got is that there are issues that they feel they have not touched, or the government has not touched them. And I think it gave us an inspiration on how to be able to address, and it meets the program that we're looking at. Like the program of Senator Lacson, which is the BRAVE, BRAVE, which stands for Budget Reform, Advocacy, and Village Empowerment. And that is what I think should be done which is bring the budget, bring the money of the Filipino to the Filipino sa baba, at hindi puro nasa taas. Ganun nakita namin. So, as I said, we're ready to make an official announcement on the 4th of August. And perhaps you can already read between the lines that the answer is yes.
That the answer is yes. So you already said that you will be running for vice president and Senator Ping Lacson running for president, the announcement of which you will make on August 4.
Officially announce it on August 4.
I had to do a follow-up na kahit po overtime na tayo. Ano po ang inyong, wala ho ba kayong pangamba? Siguro two things lang, na nangunguna po si Mayor Sara Duterte sa polls at mababa po si Senator Ping Lacson.
Malayo pa eh. Malayo pa umaga eh. It's 9 months to go. 10 months, actually. 10 months to go. Ang mga surveys that being done lately, even if you talk to the Professor Holmes or the experts in Pulse Asia, Ana Tabunda, the surveys that they're getting right now is not really reflective of what might happen in the second Monday of May. So it really depends pa sa atin ng mga kababayan, sa kanila yan. Tingnan muna natin anong mga programa. Tingnan natin, we should not rely on personalities alone. There must be a program of government that we have to look forward to, something like that. So tingnan natin. The surveys are a good guide. It's a good guide. But right now, because of the issue on the face-to-face, hindi natin alam kung pwede ang internet or social media survey. We'll see. And by the way, also, the fact that out of, let's say, a category, yung presidential candidates, 15 yung pangalan eh.
Yeah.
Di ba? So if somebody gets 30%, which no one gets, if somebody gets 30%, 70% did not vote for him or her. Or do not vote for him or her. Kung hindi na 50 ng kandidato, kung 3 na lang.
Yeah, I know what the point you're trying to make there. With a long list of candidates, mas magsaspread po yung mga boto eh. Pag kumonti po yan, it almost shows you kung ano talaga yung pupuntahan na boto with a shortened list. of candidates. One last question, because I'm sure tatanungin po ng tao to sa inyo. Pag tinanong po kayo ng tao, anong ma-offer ng Lacson Sotto na team up para po sa Pilipino? How would you answer that? What would you offer?
Let me sum it up in 3 words, because I will take the whole program o baka more than your entire program to lay out the programs that we want to do. So let me sum it up in 3 words that what we can offer. Kakayahan, katapatan, katapangan.
Kakayahan? What was the second?
Yeah, they are track records. We can do it. We are capable.
Kakayanan.
Katapatan.
Mm-mm.
We are sincere. We are honest. And our integrity speaks for itself. In the 83 years that we have been in, pag pinagsama mo kasi yung serbisyo namin sa gobyerno, 83 years. I doubt if you will find a tandem that would have served the government for 83 years. And then katapangan, obvious, sa mga asawa lang kami takot.
Okay. Senate President Tito Sotto, sir, thank you for this interview, and thank you for telling me that you will surely run and you will announce this on August 4. And we wish you luck, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much, Pinky.
Maraming salamat po. Thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.